Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we bring every town and village. It's the time period of 1968 to 1971 around the world. During this time, we'll be mentioning some names, and I'll mention it as they are for that time, because some of these personalities today, they are our Diksha and Siksha gurus. So I may not be saying the name Swami or Maharaj. It's no offense, so I'd rather say it up front. I'll be just saying the names because it was the time period as that time, and we'll say it the way it's being presented by the author. His Holiness Sasvarupa Goswami Maharaj. So don't feel offended when I'm just not saying His Holiness. The fundamental religious systems in the age of Kali is the chanting of the holy names of Krishna. Unless empowered by Krishna, one cannot propagate this Sankirtan movement. And this is the crux of everything that we're going to discuss today, because Srila Prabhupada was the empowered personality to take this Hare Krishna movement forward. He had to establish this, and this was the order of the Lord. And so many personalities gave him the blessings, like His Divine Grace Bhaktivinoda Thakur, His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur. But Srila Prabhupada had to action it. It was their desires, their prayers, and their blessings that Srila Prabhupada did what he did for our benefit. And he structured in a way that ISKCON is structured today, so that we can enjoy this Krishna consciousness and take and purify our lives and go back to Godhead in this life. So this is 1968 in Montreal. Srila Prabhupada was in his room with his disciples, and they were asking some questions. So Annapurna was there, and she received a letter from her dad. And her dad stated that if the devotees come to London, they can come and stay with him. Prabhupada heard this news, and he was so pleased. So the next day, Srila Prabhupada spoke, and he said, Annapurna, we can come and stay, we can go to London. And she said yes, but now she spoke to her dad, and her dad said, no, you can't come and stay. So Srila Prabhupada was disappointed. But then he said that we should preach in a way that with folded arms and with all humility. That should be our approach. And disappointments are there, but we should just take it as one stride at a time. So Pradyumna spoke. Pradyumna said that, Srila Prabhupada, I'm reading a book. It is about an atheistic Swami. Srila Prabhupada was very disappointed to hear his disciples, he's teaching Bhakti Yoga, they reading about atheism. Then he said, no, I'm not reading about the philosophy about this atheistic Swami. I'm taking the points to see how he organized himself. And he said that he had a rich man who organized all his tours around the world. France, Switzerland, Germany, London, all over like that. He should go on tours. This guy should arrange everything, pay for everything, and this Swami should go and preach his philosophy. So Prabhupada said, oh, that's very good, you must arrange just like that. Then he said that his mind was on London. He really wanted to go to London because he found that he has actually established a firm base in the USA, but now he had desires to go to London. So he called for Shamashundra and Mukunda Prabhus to go to London, because these devotees were very successful in San Francisco. They arranged very nice programs there with Kirtan, Prasadam distribution, Sankirtan. All the program was so nice, with nice classes on Hare Krishna. They taught japa. So they were so successful, he said they are the right people to go to London and establish the center for ISKCON. So Srila Prabhupada said, he reminded the devotees of his Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, who sent his most senior disciples to London to preach. But they were unsuccessful. But Srila Prabhupada had faith that his disciples will be successful because he based his success simply on the holy names. And he said that if you preach just faith, having this faith on the holy name, you will be successful. And he saw the success in San Francisco and in New York, and he felt very confident. The disciples that His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati sent, they were unsuccessful. They came back with a report that they cannot preach to militias because the European people, they can't sit long enough just to hear philosophy. One of the disciples, one sannyasi, he met Lord Zetlin. Lord Zetlin inquired from the sannyasi that, can you make me a Brahmin? And the sannyasi said yes. He said that first you must give up meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling, no illicit sex. And Lord Zetlin replied, impossible. So he found that this response was the standard response for all Europeans. And he said that, well, mission unsuccessful, he returned to India. Srila Prabhupada thought about the people that opened San Francisco. He got those 3 married couples, Mukunda and his wife Janaki, Shamashundra and his wife Malati, and Gurudas and his wife Yamuna. He called for them while he was in Montreal. They came to Montreal, and Srila Prabhupada said that, I'm sending you on a mission. Since you've been successful in San Francisco, I want you to go to London and open a center there. So he said that, don't go now. Come to Montreal and stay with me for about 2 weeks. I want to personally train you in Krishna consciousness, and mainly train you to do kirtan. So Srila Prabhupada gave them personal training in kirtan, and he said kirtan should start slow and build momentum gradually, and you should chant with faith, devotion to the holy name. This purity alone is sufficient to go and be successful in Krishna consciousness anywhere. Chanting is most important. If you chant like this nicely, you will be successful. And then Yamuna, you should be the lead singer, and other devotees should be chorus. Srila Prabhupada, you should train Yamuna repeatedly, again and again, teaching her different pronunciations because she pronounced things incorrectly in the beginning. This personal training helped her become more perfect in her singing of kirtan. So they started this rehearsals every day. Basically, almost the whole day they should rehearse, just chanting Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada said that this system that I am teaching you was used by Lord Chaitanya himself, and he was successful. Therefore, based on that, I am sure that you will be successful if you follow my instructions. He said that if you chant this Hare Krishna, just by chanting Hare Krishna with faith and devotion alone, people will be attracted. He did the same, sitting in the park in New York, and people were attracted. He said that if you follow me, you will be successful too. And he said that all you need is a pair of cartels, some madanga, and you can chant. Somebody come and join you, they'll play cartels, and it will just grow. You dance, they'll dance. What you do, they'll do. So Mukunda Prabhu asked Srila Prabhupada just before they could leave. Actually, on the way to the airport, they were leaving. Srila Mukunda Prabhu asked, is there any specific instruction do you have for us? And Srila Prabhupada replied with a story of Charlie Chaplin. Charlie Chaplin entered a dance competition. it was an outdoor dance competition, and there were benches outside the dance floor. Charlie Chaplin and his partner came to sit on one of the benches, but some naughty boys put some glue on the bench, and unknowingly to Charlie Chaplin, he sat. When it was his turn to dance, he got up and his coattails tore up, and he was not aware of it. He went to the dance floor and he was dancing, and he noticed that strangely people are staring at him, and he's catching all the excitement, and he's wanted to know why. So he went to the dressing room to find out what's wrong with him, and he found out in the mirror that his coattails was torn. So he decided to tear it all the way to the top, to the collar. And he came back to the dance floor with his partner, and he was dancing exuberantly. And people were clapping and laughing, and they were so excited. Now the other partners, the other couples that were dancing there, they came to know what is wrong with Charlie. Yes. Something is wrong with him. They became affected. And they found that his coattails were torn. They went to the dressing room, they tore their coattails. And they came to the dance, and they started dancing like that because they thought maybe this is the new style or it's a new fashion. So they want to be like Charlie. And eventually, one by one, each couple came and did the same thing, and that became the style for the day. And everybody was dancing to Charlie's tune. And all the devotees, they laughed when they heard the story that Srila Prabhupada told them. So when they arrived at the airport, Mukunda said, Srila Prabhupada, you answered the question so expertly. All we have to do is be crazy. This is Krishna consciousness. We have to just chant. He was telling Shama Shutra, we just have to chant this holy name like crazy, simply following Srila Prabhupada. Because in those times, Krishna consciousness knew who would see bald-headed, shaven with little sika, tilak, and orange robes. Who would be attracted by that? I mean, and you chanting strange mantras like Hare Krishna. And Mukunda said, we need to become like Charlie Chaplin, just crazy. And that will be the success. And Srila Prabhupada nodded. This is it. You've got it. So that was the goodbye at the airport. And they were on the way to London. So Srila Prabhupada said, his godbrothers has imitated the British. But Srila Prabhupada wanted the British to imitate the Vaishnavas, his disciples, and he succeeded. Srila Prabhupada then went to Boston, lectured in a university at Harvard and MIT. At MIT University, he challenged the authorities that you have such nice university, you're teaching so many subjects, but where is the department that teaches you the difference between a dead body and a live body? There is nothing. You are at MIT, but you do not teach about the Almighty. Srila Prabhupada traveled place to place, saving rich man's sons, who became hippies, frustrated. They were wandering the streets. They were just ripe for Krishna consciousness. Whereas the Indians, they were chasing to go to the West for sense gratification and wealth. So one reporter asked Srila Prabhupada if his disciples are still hippies. Srila Prabhupada said, no, they're not hippies, they are happies. Srila Prabhupada was the father of his disciples. He called the American boys and girls the flower of your country. They received blessings of Lord Chaitanya, and they were delivering these blessings to their countrymen. Srila Prabhupada loved his disciples and they reciprocated that love. And he said, this is the essence of spiritual life, love. December 1968. He would mostly visit temples on Sundays, and then during the week he would translate the Nectar of Devotion and the Krishna book. There was no time, it was race against time to introduce Krishna consciousness worldwide. Prabhupada said that if Krishna wants to kill you, nobody can save you. Srila Prabhupada had passion, compassion for all the living entities who are on the way to hell due to their sinful lives. Srila Prabhupada used to write and receive several letters a week. And most of the letters, they came from London. He should write about 2 or 3 letters a week, like every second day, communicate with the devotees from London, because he was so concerned about London. London was in his mind like every day. Everything that they said, they did, Prabhupada wanted to know and help and guide them. Devotees used to write that they are living in some Indian houses, having prasadam here and there, living in different places, and having kirtan, some talks here and there, but the program wasn't going forward. Srila Prabhupada said, these Indian peoples lost their culture. They all hotwash. You need to change it. Go and preach to the Europeans. Go to universities and colleges. Go there. So they changed tactics. They moved and followed Srila Prabhupada's instructions. Even then, success was small, but it moved in a new direction because this was a new way. These European peoples, everything was new to them. Whereas the Indian people, when they were preaching, they were quite comfortable. Yes, we know everything what you're saying. We know. We're doing. Yes, we know the songs. We know everything. And it just carried on as just one katha after the other. So in New York, April 1969, Srila Prabhupada visited New York Center to give association to the devotees in 2nd Avenue. One reporter asked Swami. He reported that Swami is a small man. Swami is a small man, but he's delivering a great message. Srila Prabhupada said, I may be small, but my message is not so small. Brahmananda showed Prabhupada a globe, and on the globe he marked the different ISKCON centers around the globe, and then they counted 15. 15 centers at that time was big. And New Carolina was the latest addition. So Srila Prabhupada said, he was smiling from one end to the other, looking at each and every devotee and saying that I want each and every one of you to go out and open a center and preach Krishna consciousness. And he said that you all can do it. All you have to do, just take a mridanga and start chanting. Devotees will come and they'll follow you. There's nothing else to do. So one Mataji, Rukmini, asks, ladies too? And Prabhupada said, yes, what's the difference? Spiritually, there's no difference. Prabhupada said that Lord Nityananda, his wife Janaki, she was a preacher. She preached. Prabhupada said that if you can chant, sing, and give a talk, it's good enough. You can open a center, and he wanted everyone to do it. And he said that if there's any shortcoming, Krishna will give you intelligence. You just go out and do it on his order. 1969 May, Allen Ginsberg, he was an old friend, a friend of the Hare Krishna movement. And he came up with some suggestions to grow this movement and make it more popular. And he said this movement is too sectarian, too Hindu. And he said that you must change the food, the dress, and the Sanskrit. These things change and the movement will grow. Prabhupada said that this is not a sectarian movement, this is Krishna consciousness. Lord Chaitanya taught it this way, and we following in his instructions and directions. He said food, any food is acceptable as long as it's pure vegetarian. Good. Dress, any dress. There's no need to be strictly having shaven heads and orange robes. That wasn't the actual requirement. Then he said mantra, the Hare Krishna mantra was the only mantra. He said all other sounds was foreign, because the Hare Krishna mantra was natural. So Alan objected to these things, and he wanted this to be more American. Srila Prabhupada went to Ohio State University, and he preached in a hall. It was packed with 2,000 students, and they sang and danced for more than an hour, and Srila Prabhupada was pleased that 2,000 students, foreign, first time they singing and dancing with him. He gave another very long lecture. He was so pleased with this outcome, he actually wrote a report on it. Then they went to New Vrindavan. Then Kirtananda and Hayagriva drove Srila Prabhupada to New Vrindavan farm. Just before they could reach the farm, about 2 miles out, the car got stuck in the mud. It rained before, and this is all muddy roads. It's a farm. When they got stuck, Srila Prabhupada said, "How far is it from here?" And Kirtananda Prabhu, or Swami, he was only Swami at that time. He was the first initiated sannyasi at that time. He said, about 2 miles. So Srila Prabhupada jumped off. He said, "Let's walk." Devotees weren't pleased. They must walk. So Srila Prabhupada, as he was walking, he was giving instructions. I want the temple to be like this, cows to be there, different projects. He was giving guidance with the trees and the plants, and he visioned all these things, giving instructions. And then he was walking pretty fast, and he outpaced all the devotees. And he found that the devotees were huffing and puffing, the battling to keep up with his pace. Then he noticed that some devotees were way back. So Srila Prabhupada came to a creek, and he stopped. And devotees were there, and he said, "Now we are waiting for Kirtananda Swami. He is very tired." Srila Prabhupada liked New Vrindavan. It was a big farm area, and devotees there, he liked the freshness there. They should serve him wheat cereals with hot milk, and he really enjoyed it. Hot milk came from a cow called Kalia. He really liked that. And the devotees lived a very simple and natural life with hardly any facilities. Srila Prabhupada got down to his real business, translating. And Kirtananda used to be the cook. He used to cook on wood, and Srila Prabhupada should love it. And he said, "Kirtananda, this is second class. First class cooking is from cow dung. Second class is wood. Third is gas. And fourth is electricity. But I'll accept second class." He also wanted 7 temples to be built on the farm, and he gave the names: Madan Mohan, Govindaji, Gopinath, Radha Damodar, Radha Raman, Shamashundra, and Radha Gokulananda. He said, "Please build this." Those were his instructions. Then he started traveling again, and he told the devotees, "I must now leave." Kirtananda Swami said, "You can't leave, Prabhupada. I am blocking the way." So Srila Prabhupada said, "You can't do that. You can't block the way of the Guru." And he corrected him for that. When Srila Prabhupada should always leave some place, devotees used to chant Hare Krishna crying. That's how much love they had for him. Srila Prabhupada, wherever he went in that time, his mind was always in London, hearing from the 6 devotees, giving them instruction, guiding them, because these devotees were living separately in different places, but they had to come out every now and then, meet, and just do programs here and there, and go back. They have no money, no food, no job, nothing. They simply depend on the holy name and Srila Prabhupada's letters. That's what. That's what kept them alive, those letters. 4 months has passed, and Shamashundra now arranged a program of 100 people. Some were politicians, some were young students, sorry, this just went off. And university students, they came to hear. And when Srila Prabhupada heard this message, that they were preaching to such high-profile personalities, he became very, very enlightened and encouraged them to keep to this program. This is very nice. They distributed prasadam, and they had kirtan, and they showed a film, and the film was Srila Prabhupada walking in Golden Gate Park. After a few weeks, the devotees received their first important publicity. There was a photo of all 6 devotees on the Sunday Times in London, and it had a quote by Guru Das, and the quote read, "The Hare Krishna is a chant which sets God dancing on your tongue. Try chanting Queen Elizabeth and see the difference." In a few days, the same article appeared in America, in San Francisco Chronicle, but it had a new title. It was "Krishna Chants Startles London." Srila Prabhupada was more pleased with this. Without any walk from London to San Francisco, very happy. But, then he said, his Grihastha couples were successful in planting the seed of Krishna consciousness, whereas his godbrothers, big sannyasis, failed. For 35 years, his godbrothers made one disciple. Her name was Elizabeth Botel. And she was initiated, and the initiated name was Vinod Vani Dasi. So Vinod Vani Dasi lived a few hours outside London, and nothing else happened. She was just initiated. That's it. Didn't do anything. So the devotees wrote to Srila Prabhupada if they could visit Vinod Vani Dasi, and Srila Prabhupada said, well, no benefit in visiting her. She's got a little house whereby she hung a little plate written there, Gaudiya Math. That's it. So when the devotees went there eventually, they met her. She spoke to them through closed doors. And she said, if you want to visit me, you must first get an introduction letter from the Gaudiya Math before you can come. And that was it. So they left. After several months, they met a man who gave them a warehouse at the Convent Gardens to stay rent-free. This was big luck for them, rent-free. They had no money, so they took it. So they set up a temple, and in 1 week they recruited 3 devotees full-time. So it just got to show us to have a center, what it is. You could do so much just with one center. They phoned Srila Prabhupada and they told him. Srila Prabhupada was so excited, and Srila Prabhupada said, so what are you doing now? And the devotees replied, we are making chapatis. After 3 months, the landlord came back and he said that I want the place back. He's got things to do. The devotees had to move out. Srila Prabhupada installed the first Radha Krishna deities in LA. And this was a model temple. This is our Western headquarters. He said that all the devotees around the world must come to LA and follow this standard of Krishna consciousness, this standard of Mangal Arati, because he personally established and directed the model. He did everything. He dressed the deities, he did everything that you can think of, he personally taught them what to do. Whenever Srila Prabhupada saw a devotee eager to do more service, he would give them more responsibility. Then he said that anxiety for serving Krishna was the greatest satisfaction. Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, "The trouble that I encounter in your devotional service, I will consider the greatest happiness. Satisfaction for a devotee is pleasing the previous spiritual masters, and the best is to preach to the fallen souls." Srila Prabhupada gave the example of the gopis pleasing Krishna. And when the gopis just saw Krishna, they smiled. Krishna saw this smile, he became pleased. And when Krishna was more pleased, Gopi became more pleased. And this competition was there, one pleasing the other. So he said that we should be like that. The disciples should please the spiritual master, the authorities, and the spiritual master should please the disciple. And this should be the competition. This is the spiritual competition. San Francisco, 1969. A day before Raja Yatra festival, Srila Prabhupada arrived at the San Francisco airport. 50 devotees were chanting. So several reporters met Srila Prabhupada at the airport and they questioned Swami. What is your opinion of the recent moon landing? Sorry, I just went off. So Srila Prabhupada, when he had this question here about moon landing, he wasn't very excited. But some of his devotees were very excited. Sorry, just give me a second. Yes. Srila Prabhupada said that we should go beyond the moon. This moon landing is not for us. What we should do, we should chant Hare Krishna, that's more important than the moon landing. But everyone else was so concerned about this moon landing. He said that what is more important is we should conquer death. We should go beyond that. That is more important. So you go beyond the moon, you go to Krishna. So when the reporters heard this, they came out with a picture and a story. Ecstasy in Concourse B, conquering death. Many of these people who attended the Rath Yatra were intoxicated at this Rath Yatra festival. But the devotees were spiritually intoxicated. The devotees wore devotee outfit, whereas the hippies wore hippie outfit. The devotees were smiling and dancing, while the intoxicated personalities were also dancing, but they were intoxicated. They weren't on the spiritual platform. At the parade, when the parade ended, they went to a hall where they had the festival and they had prasadam for 10,000 people. That's how many people attended the first Rath Yatra. And the prasadam was fruit slices, halava, and watermelon slices with apple pie chutney. In London, the devotees, they were thinking that to spread this Krishna consciousness, we need to get to the most famous person. And the most famous person at that time were the Beatles. So they were thinking, how do we get the Beatles to chant? So what they did, they got together and they made an apple pie with Hare Krishna lettered on it, and they sent it to Apple Record Studio. Next, they sent a winding up Apple to the studio, Apple Studio. No response. Then they had a mantra printed on it. They even sent a tape recorder, and they got a standard rejection letter from Apple Records. They couldn't do anything. They weren't winning with anything. And eventually, Shamashundra, he decided he's going to Apple Studio. So he went. When he arrived at Apple Studio, there were so many people there at the reception area. He had no appointment. He didn't know what to do. He didn't know what to say. He sat on the bench. He sat on there, didn't know what to do, but just thinking that he has to meet someone with the Beatles. After a couple of moments, George Harrison walked straight to him with all the people sitting up there and or walking or turning busy with their work. And he said, Hare Krishna, where have you? I've been looking for you for past 2 years. And Shamashundra is shocked. He is waiting to see the Beatles and they're looking for us 2 years. He didn't know what to do. He just sat there. He thought he's preaching. George is so comfortable. Opened up to him. George came and sat next to him and they spoke for 1 hour. After an hour, George said, Sham, come home. We'll have lunch. They went to George's house. They had lunch and Shamashundra was introduced to the Beatles. George Harrison, Paul McCartney, Ringo Starr and John Lennon. George wanted to make a record and he asked Sham, can we do this? And the devotees, they wanted the Beatles to sing, but George, the devotees wanted Beatles to sing, but the Beatles wanted the devotees to sing. So eventually they decided to do some recordings. So they started practicing. And all the devotees were practicing and Yamuna was the lead singer. And she used to sing and practice for long. Eventually, George Harrison was quite okay with the recording and he said that I think now we should go and record it. So they went to EMI Studios. At EMI Studio, they met Eric Preston, who was in charge there. And at the recording, they had a little studio and there were several technicians there. So Yamuna and Malati, they changed the whole studio into a little temple. They put tilak on all the people that were there. They were new people. Linda and Paul McCartney, they put tilak there. They were the sound technicians. They put tilak on them. All the technicians, all were wearing tilak. Yamuna and Malati did it themselves without permission. They just carried on. They put pictures all over the walls. They put incense all over, flowers, and they had trays of prasadam. They just did what they have to do. Everything became like Krishna times. And the Beatles sat there shocked. Never anything like this took place. They just stood and they let them do what they have to do. So this recording started. When the record started, they had first tape. George wasn't happy. Paul McCartney, although he was the sound engineer, George Harrison was on the piano, Mukunda was playing Madanga, and they had first, second, third tape. George wasn't pleased. He just found something, wasn't happy. Then he said, fourth take. The fourth take went on as normal, but in the end, Malati just took a brass gong and she just gonged it. And George said, well, that's it, that's the one. He's happy. And that became the R45 #1 hit. So that after that record sold so many copies around the world, it became #1. After the recording, they all went home. Not to one house, all different houses, because they were staying all separately. They had no home, just living in different Indian houses, just for a few days, from one house to the next. Then they recorded the flip side as well. Then, just before Srila Prabhupada could arrive, Guru Das met an estate agent who said that he's got a building in the center of London, just near the British Museum, and you can rent it for £41 a week. He wrote to Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada agreed to spend that money. He agreed to pay. Shamashundra Prabhu also got a letter from Apple Company as guarantor of payment of the rent if the devotees defaulted. So within a week, that building was ready for occupation. They moved in. As soon as they moved in, the authority said, you can't move in because you don't have housing permit to stay here. They had to move out. They had no place to stay. So Shamashundra said that everybody move out because not staying here, but he is treating the house for the Lord. He started constructing a temple without nobody's permission. He went ahead and he did whatever he had to do for the altar. He went ahead to do it. Nobody knew, he just did it. At the same time, John Lennon bought a house from the Cadbury family for 76 acres of land. And then he asked the devotees, you got nowhere to stay, come stay with me. It's a big farm, 76 acres, massive land. He said that, come stay with me, but the house needs some renovation. You can renovate it for me and you can stay there for free. So the devotees had no choice, they accepted. It was a deal. While they were renovating the house, while John Lennon stayed in the main building, the devotees stayed in the servants' quarters, which also needed renovation, but they just stayed like that. And they renovated every day. And John Lennon was so surprised to see the enthusiasm of these devotees, of how they work. He said that, what is the secret of Srila Prabhupada? What did he do that these devotees are so enthusiastic and they work without supervision so nicely and so corporately and so expertly? He hasn't found people like that. And he was stunned, just shocked. So Apple Record had the promotions for the release of the record, the RPM 45. On the first day, the record sold 70,000 copies. The devotees even appeared on TV like Top of the Pops. That was record in those days. Everything just somehow turned up on time just for Srila Prabhupada's arrival. Suddenly they now started getting money too because of the sales of the record. Then we go on to the dream fulfilled. With the cooperation of Apple Records and Lufthansa German Airlines, they made a grand reception at Heathrow Airport for Srila Prabhupada's arrival. Srila Prabhupada arrived, and as soon as he stepped off the plane, he was escorted to the VIP lounge by this arrangement. As soon as the devotees saw Srila Prabhupada step, immediately they all ran and they offered obeisances. They offered obeisances on a wet pavement. And Srila Prabhupada just smiled at just seeing the devotees, the surrender of the devotees. And as the devotees rose, his smile just grew, and the devotees were all like wet now. And they were dusting off the macadams from the saris and dhotis. And then they ran off to Srila Prabhupada to accompany him to the VIP lounge. Inside the lounge, there were several reporters, cameramen, pressmen, friends, devotees, some new devotees that just joined. Shamashundra Prabhu garlanded Srila Prabhupada with red and white carnations, and the devotees danced, sang, conch shell blew. Heathrow Airport Sunday became spiritualized. Srila Prabhupada spoke to each and every devotee for some time, personally. After that, they were driven. Srila Prabhupada was chauffeur driven in John Lennon's Rolls Royce. Devotees were so excited, they forgot to jump in the car with Srila Prabhupada, and the driver just took off. Then, at John Lennon's house, Srila Prabhupada asked John Lennon, he spoke to the devotees there, and he asked John Lennon, what are you following? So John said, nothing. Spoke to his wife, Yoko, what are you following? She said, we just live. Then he spoke to George Harrison. George Harrison said that I do mantra meditation. And Srila Prabhupada was very pleased. John Lennon and his wife, they had difficulty in accepting Krishna consciousness. So Yoko said to her husband, John, look how simple the Swami is living. Then he said, John, can you live like that? And he shook his head. So Srila Prabhupada spoke to the three couples. It took quite some time. And Shamashundra Prabhu said, Srila Prabhupada, yesterday our record sold 50,000 copies. And Srila Prabhupada's eyes opened. He smiled and he said, big business. Srila Prabhupada said, now that you got money, you should open a temple. And he wanted a temple in the city so that he could preach. And he said that this will actually please his spiritual master, because this is what his spiritual master wanted. But his god brothers failed, and he is hopeful that his disciple can succeed. Srila Prabhupada was sorry to see his devotees work in John Lennon's house. They worked so hard just for accommodation. That's all. And while they were doing this, they were busy renovating the temple in the city. And he said that for 35 years, his godbrothers preached in London with no success. In 4 months, his disciples preached and they were successful. And he found that this is the mercy of his spiritual master. So Srila Prabhupada continued his lifestyle, rising 1 o'clock every morning and translating. That was his main business. And he loved the farm. The farm was so nice. John Lennon's house was beautiful for him. So serenic, peaceful, and ideal for translation. He loved it. He translated the Krishna book and the 3rd canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So, later that morning, the devotees brought Srila Prabhupada several news articles about his arrival in London. The Daily Sketch, I read, had a headline, Enter His Divine Grace, Abhay Charan, Bhaktivedanta Swami, with photos. The Sun's headline is, Happiness is Krishna, with photos. The Daily Mirror showed little Saraswati with a devotee. And the Daily Telegraph, Hindu temple protest. Conversions of office premises into Hindu temple is investigated by the Ministry of Public Buildings and Works. So Srila Prabhupada told his disciples that a Vaishnava is one who fights for Krishna, just like Arjuna and Hanuman. And as the devotee tries his best in full surrender, Krishna supports and protects him. Srila Prabhupada used to go for his morning walks, and in the farm it was beautiful, just ideal. So Isana Prabhu, he asked Srila Prabhupada, how did I come to ISKCON? He mean, I'm so degraded. So Srila Prabhupada said, you are intelligent. Then his wife asked, what is the meaning of the spiritual master? And Srila Prabhupada said, actually, I'm not your spiritual master. I'm your spiritual father. Kurukshetra saw a tractor and he said, Srila Prabhupada, what a wonderful invention. Srila Prabhupada looked at him. Invention? This tractor, this is the fall down of the Indian village system. Before, in the Indian village, all the villagers used to go to work in the land. Since the tractor came, now they have to go to the city, and they fell in illusion. So this tractor is a nonsense. Then, as they walked, Srila Prabhupada came to a little patch of yellow grass, and he said that, and there was another patch there of green grass, and he said, what's the difference? Why this grass is yellow and that is green? And no one could answer. And Srila Prabhupada said, this grass is yellow because it's detached. The roots are not attached, while the other grass is attached. So as soon as you attach to Krishna, you get all the nourishment of Krishna consciousness. And you detach yourself, you fall into illusion, this Maya. And the devotees were very pleased and impressed with that. After the walk, Srila Prabhupada called for little Saraswati, and she said, Saraswati, you are now a big girl, so you must go to Gurukul. And then he said that I'm going to put a stamp on your forehead and mail you in the mailbox to Gurukul. She started crying and she ran off to her mummy. Next day, Srila Prabhupada called for little Saraswati again. And he said, Saraswati, come sit on my lap. So little Saraswati came and sat on Srila Prabhupada's lap. How fortunate was she? Then he said, Purushottam, get me the stamp. And I mailed Saraswati to Gurukul. As soon as she heard that, she ran off to her mummy again. Yeah. So, Srila Prabhupada would sing bhajans in the morning and invite Purushottam and Yamuna to accompany him and record his favorite bhajan. And his favorite bhajan was Hari Hari Vipale. So Srila Prabhupada chanted one chapter of Bhagavad Gita every day for 18 days. And he said that any place where Bhagavad Gita is chanted every day, that place is a tirtha. The devotees, the ladies, Yamuna, Malati, they should serve Srila Prabhupada breakfast, lunch, supper every day. They should cook all American style food. American pie, glazed cookies, donuts. But Srila Prabhupada loves Sandesh, and he never got that to eat. So, one day he called all of them, and he said, now I'm going to teach you Bengali sweets. And that's when the real prasadam started. You should enjoy Bengali sweets. So Srila Prabhupada requested Shamsundra to take him on a tour of London because he was educated in Calcutta by British personalities. And they spoke so much, so big of London. He said that now I'm here, I want to see. I read. He was surprised to see how small many of the London historic landmarks were. At Buckingham Palace, he remarked, we have many houses in Calcutta bigger than this. The Thames was only a canal. In Srila Prabhupada's mind, he thought it was bigger than the Ganges. So now they got permission to occupy the temple. Srila Prabhupada spoke at the Campton Town Hall, which was very well attended. There were questions at this hall. So I read some of them. One person asked, would you say Krishna is God or love? And Srila Prabhupada replied, that is the real position. Krishna is all attractive. Anything that is all attractive is love. There was an Indian woman. She said, would it matter if I worship Krishna or Shiva or Christ or Buddha? Srila Prabhupada replied, they all have the same goals and you take different paths. If you worship Shiva, you get Shiva. Why do you expect Krishna by worshipping Shiva? If you buy a ticket to India, you will go to India, not America. If you want to go to the 42nd floor of a building, you can go one floor at a time, or you would take the express elevator to the 42nd floor. One hippie shouted, hey Swamiji. Everybody turned to look at him. And he said, you said, if we are not careful, we would become dogs in our next life. But I want to tell you, I don't mind becoming a dog in my next life. Srila Prabhupada said, you have my blessings. And the young man said, another man, he said, if this is the absolute truth, how come there are so many people in London but not so many people in attendance here? Srila Prabhupada replied, when you are selling diamonds, do not expect many customers, but if you are giving cut glass, the fools would come. Krishna consciousness is very precious, so don't expect the fools to come. Some sincere souls have come. You please take it. We move on to the next chapter, the dream fulfilled. Srila Prabhupada received an invitation from Britain's most popular TV show. It's called Late Night Lineup. So here the interviewer, he was very accustomed to take on his people that he interviewed, and with some very snappy repartee, he should really put you down, take you on where you can't answer the next question. He should really bring you down. And that was his style of interview, and that's why the show was so popular, because big people, he makes them small. So the reporter asked Srila Prabhupada, do you have a concept of hell in your religion? And Srila Prabhupada replied, London is hell. Now the host appeared shocked, stunned, as if he was caught from his own game. And he was caught, he didn't know what to say, and there were moments of silence. Then Srila Prabhupada continued to speak, and he said that even though in this damp climatic condition, still the British people have done so much. He said that although Britain is damp, cloudy and raining, in India it is always shining, but the British accomplished so much in such hellish conditions. This interviewer was so taken aback and caught. He didn't know what to say, what was the next move. Eventually, he just gave in to Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada spoke Krishna consciousness for 1 hour on TV. Next day, there was a report, newspaper report in London, and the headlines, Swami calls London hell. The Hare Krishna mantra was top of the charts every week on the charts, number 1, all in Europe and the whole of Europe. And there was a Dutch TV company that actually sent an invitation to Srila Prabhupada to come to Holland for an interview, only 5 minutes, all expenses paid. Srila Prabhupada accepted it. This studio was fully air-conditioned with loudspeakers and artificial plants, but no windows. So the producer arrived on time, and he was surprised to see Srila Prabhupada. And he told Srila Prabhupada, I'm going to play this record, and you must mind it. Thereafter, I give you 2 minutes to talk. This Hare Krishna mantra, the record, was a big, big hit all over the world. The income from this, Srila Prabhupada said, must go to funding the temple. Sorry, my computer just went off. Okay. Yes, okay, sorry about that. So at that time, there was the second moon landing in the USA. They sent rockets out, and they were showing this on TV. And there was big news, big reports all over, and everyone was very excited to hear and see about this moon landing on TV. And Srila Prabhupada was not impressed by all this. He said that this moon landing is not important because the moon is a higher planet, not a planet for drunkards and cow-eating slaughterers. All the disciples accepted this, that nobody has gone to the moon as yet, except Purushottam. Purushottam could not accept that we have not gone to the moon. So Srila Prabhupada will ask someone. Someone will ask, where is Janaki? And Srila Prabhupada will reply, oh, he is gone to the moon. And everybody would laugh except Purushottam, because he couldn't accept this. So Purushottam became very sullen and just drawn back. He wasn't enthusiastic. And Srila Prabhupada noticed his lack of enthusiasm. So one day, Srila Prabhupada, Purushottam and Yamuna was with Srila Prabhupada. And Purushottam was wearing the old sweater that he slept the night before. He grew a beard, and he wasn't like fresh like the other devotees. And Yamuna, she only had 2 saris, and she was so bright and fresh. And Srila Prabhupada would say, Yamuna, you're looking so beautiful today. You got so many saris. Your tilak is so nice. Anybody that wears tilak is looking beautiful. So we should praise Yamuna like this, and then Purushottam should get the message. About 6 p.m. that evening, Yamuna was cooking puris and potatoes for Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada rang the bell. So unconsciously, Yamuna just left the stove on, put the ghee on the stove, and she ran upstairs to attend to Srila Prabhupada. When she went there, after some while, they smelled smoke. And she ran downstairs because now she remembered that she was the only person in the kitchen. When she went there was a big fire. She screamed for Purushottam, and eventually Purushottam came and put the fire off. By then, Purushottam and Yamuna were all black. So they went up to Srila Prabhupada's room upstairs to tell Srila Prabhupada. And Janaki came to the kitchen, and she saw the kitchen in such a big mess. She went to Prabhupada to tell Srila Prabhupada the kitchen is in a mess. When she arrived there, she saw 2 black persons. White people, black. And she asked, Prabhupada, the kitchen is in a mess. She didn't know what to do. When she looked at Prabhupada, Prabhupada said, Purushottam has gone to the moon. And everybody laughed. Everyone laughed. Because now they became all black. The devotees were still renovating John Lennon's house. And John used to play the piano. And he used to sing the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra in so many different tunes, melodies, and different rags. And everybody knows that John is a great musician. But these devotees, they recognized John's talent, that he was just not a great musician. He was a musical genius. Because the tunes that he played was just beyond, no one played it or sang it in those rags and those tunes. Then that night, after 6 p.m., his wife came downstairs in a nightgown, and she said, "John, I have a headache. Can you just stop what you're doing and come upstairs?" And as a good husband, he had to go upstairs. So the Daily Sketch reported Krishna people dying at John Lennon's house. And the photo shows the devotees all taking prasadam. One day, John invited Srila Prabhupada to hear his latest recording, his new album called Cold Turkey. Srila Prabhupada went with Purushottam. Now, this is the Beatles. This album is not released. Srila Prabhupada is the first one to hear it. You won't believe it. Besides Purushottam, when the other devotees heard that John Lennon is going to play the Cold Turkey album to Srila Prabhupada, they also went secretly. Only thing, Srila Prabhupada and John Lennon went inside, but they heard it, they went outside. And through the window, they thought they could hear Cold Turkey. So, John put the tape on. Somehow, the tape didn't come on. He tried again and again, something went off. So Srila Prabhupada said, your machine is faulty. We came to hear Cold Turkey. Never mind. We also made some recordings. So he played the Maha Mantra. And we all listened to the Maha Mantra. No one heard Cold Turkey. The devotees outside were giggling, saying that, where is Cold Turkey? But they're listening to Hare Krishna Mantra. Now John Lennon was there. He was forced to listen to Prabhupada Hare Krishna Mantra. After some time, Prabhupada thanked John and took his leave. And as he was walking out, he saw a big picture of John Lennon and his wife in color, full size, naked. Srila Prabhupada saw that. He shook his head. Then as he walked, he saw there were silhouettes, black and white. He saw different men and women in different sexual positions. Srila Prabhupada was shocked at this. He came outside and he told the devotees, we are moving out now. They came to his quarters because they were staying at the servants' quarters. And the next day they moved out. But Srila Prabhupada still in his heart, he liked John Lennon's residence. That farm was so too beautiful. He really liked it. It was so serenic, so nice. He loved the chanting, he loved everything. But he found that this was not good for the devotees. Then Srila Prabhupada, when he was on his way out, just before he could leave, John Lennon and his wife, they came to Srila Prabhupada dressed in black, full black, top to bottom. And John asked Srila Prabhupada, can you bless us? Can you bless us that upon our death, my wife and I will be together, united again? Srila Prabhupada said, no, that can't happen. When Krishna gives life, Krishna takes life upon death. Upon death, you can be united with Krishna. But husband and wife is dead upon death. It never united again. They were very disappointed. So Srila Prabhupada left John Lennon's estate. On his way out, he still stopped the car while going out. He stopped the car to smell the trees, touch the leaves, because he liked all those things. It was so nice. And then they moved out. And when they moved out, the next day there was a huge storm. And that storm caused huge damage to the farm. Trees uprooted, big damage, because a spiritual personality has left. So Srila Prabhupada wrote the Krishna book. And he asked Shamachandra to ask John if he can sponsor the book. He wasn't very happy. And then he eventually asked John, and John was reluctant. And he said that every day, so many people just ask me for money. He doesn't know what to do. He wasn't very good, happy. Eventually, Srila Prabhupada spoke to John, and he told John, look, you are giving money, but this money is devotional service. Then he agreed to give, and he wrote the foreword to the Krishna book. So the devotees rented a TV to watch the moon landing, so they could show Srila Prabhupada that man has gone to the moon. It's live on TV, you can see it. So they rented this TV for Srila Prabhupada. And guess what? Purushottam was in charge of the TV. He put the TV on. So Purushottam was most excited than any other devotee. And he told Srila Prabhupada, look, they are landing on the moon. But at that time, while the moon landing was taking place, Srila Prabhupada was taking his massage. And Dhananjaya was massaging Srila Prabhupada. But he was just not massaging Srila Prabhupada, he was massaging Srila Prabhupada and simultaneously watching TV. So his massage wasn't like good massage. The massage was weak and wasn't concentrated. So Srila Prabhupada called, Dhananjaya, come to the front. So he made Dhananjaya sit in front of him and face Prabhupada. And Prabhupada now started massaging Dhananjaya. So he massaged Dhananjaya Prabhu for 2 minutes. But Dhananjaya now he lost out watching TV because he was backwards against the TV. And then Prabhupada asked, did they land on the moon? And Purushottam said, yes, Prabhupada, they're landing on the moon. And then Srila Prabhupada said, what do you see? They are sand and rocks, Prabhupada. Purushottam was giving all the answers. He's the one who was saying all these things. Now, Dhananjaya was massaging again. And this time too, he massaged very good nicely, and after that he was going loose again. Srila Prabhupada called him again. Sit in front, and Prabhupada massaging again. Showed him exactly how to massage. And he was receiving the massage. So he came back, and eventually the whole moon landing took place. Dhananjaya saw nothing. He had a massage by Srila Prabhupada. So Srila Prabhupada told Purushottam, they have landed on the moon, but what do you see? So he said sand and rocks. But Srila Prabhupada said, no trees, no rivers, no buildings, no people. And he said no. Then Srila Prabhupada said, that's not moon landing. They did not go to the moon. Purushottam was very disappointed. At the same time, Malati, she came to Srila Prabhupada and she brought some kachoris. And Srila Prabhupada said, this kachoris is better than the moon landing. You take kachoris, you can go back to Godhead over the moon. So one day Mr. Doyle was representing a large Hindu society organization. And he had Hare Krishna deities, Radha Krishna deities. And he offered Srila Prabhupada these deities. So Srila Prabhupada said, okay, he sent his disciples, go and have a look. They came back, they said, very good. So Srila Prabhupada said, let's go and bring these deities. Because Shamachandra was building the temple, he made the altar so big, bigger than the small deities they had. He did it unconsciously. When Srila Prabhupada arrived at Mr. Doyle's house, he spoke with them Krishna consciousness, he saw the deities, and Srila Prabhupada said, okay, take them to the van. They came ready with the van. Then, while they were outside loading deities, Mr. Doyle said that, oh, Swamiji, you can't take the deities now. We will bring the deities to you. Now, the reason why Mr. Doyle was offering the deities to Srila Prabhupada, because Radharani's little finger was chipped. And because of the chipped finger, and according to Hindu tradition, it wasn't very auspicious to have that as deities. So Srila Prabhupada didn't mind. And Srila Prabhupada said that, don't worry about the chipped finger. We got experts, we'll fix it. Mr. Doyle said that, no, we got experts, we'll fix it, we'll bring it to you. Before you can say this thing, Srila Prabhupada was in the van and he took off. He told the driver to drive. As they drove off, next corner around the block, Srila Prabhupada told Shamashundra, stop. He offered Govinda Aripurusham puja. He smiled for long and then he told Shamashundra, drive very slowly. He was so happy that Krishna came. He said that Krishna came with a chip finger because he came to us, and this was just Krishna's arrangement that they had to bring it and give it to us. It was Krishna's arrangement. Then Mukunda said that, Srila Prabhupada, you know you kidnapped Krishna? And Srila Prabhupada said yes. So there was a big opening ceremony, and Apple Records hired professional people to do flower arrangements, and professional florists with fresh flower arrangement to do the opening. Srila Prabhupada did everything personally himself. But the altar wasn't right, and the altar was falling. Srila Prabhupada grabbed it just to save the devotees. Things were going wrong because everything was new to everybody. So behind that, nobody could see because it was behind curtains. Then Srila Prabhupada sent invitations for all his godbrothers to attend the opening. Nobody came. And this was the first opening in London. One day before the departure from London, Srila Prabhupada, he distributed all his personal items to his devotees. And he told Malati this, I read this for you. He told Yamuna that if you practice what I have taught you and follow the instructions of how I have taught you to worship the deities, and if you read my books, it is sufficient for you to go back to Godhead. You need not learn anything new. Simply practice what I have taught you and your life will be perfect. It was a threat against ISKCON. December 69. More than 100 disciples gathered at Boston International Airport to welcome Srila Prabhupada. And they had a big banner to welcome Srila Prabhupada in New York. It was a cold winter's day. The devotees had big kirtan, heavy coats, dancing in the rain and the snow. And Prabhupada, and such big kirtans that they caused a big chaos in that area. The policemen, they went to the biggest person, Brahmananda, and asked him, cool it. And then they had to cool things down. Because the devotees, they were actually going wild to see Srila Prabhupada. They guarded him one by one. Srila Prabhupada told the devotees that he told George Harrison that if he thought that his money belonged to him, then that's Maya. He said that your money should actually go to Krishna. He said your money belongs to Krishna. But Brahmananda said that the only way to Krishna is through you, Srila Prabhupada. So Srila Prabhupada arrived in the temple and he saw the deities very beautiful. And then he asked, who dressed the deities today? And someone said, Saradiya. Srila Prabhupada laughed and he said, Saradiya dressed the deities? He was so happy and so pleased. And then he said, is Saradiya still fighting with her husband? And everybody laughed. And then he said, do not fight with husband. He said, your husband, he's a good boy. Anyone who comes to Krishna consciousness is all good. On the appearance day of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, the devotees moved to the new temple. Although it was incomplete, they offered artis to Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada had nothing to offer his disciple, offer his Guru Maharaj on this Vyasa Puja. So he offered his disciples to his Guru Maharaj. And he gave the lecture on his Guru Maharaj, on his instructions, or what his instructions was. they built this temple here, and Srila Prabhupada did everything himself. He even chose to have carpets, and at that time he had carpets, and he put white sheets over the carpets, and he folded them in, and he said that it should only be used, only taken off on special occasions, because this was the first center they owned. This was the own, because all other centers were actually rented or leased. In LA, Srila Prabhupada started the morning program and invited all the temple presidents around the world to come to LA, because this was the headquarters, and he said that this should be the standard ISKCON program around the world, and this is what everyone should follow. One day a record arrived from Srila Prabhupada, Govinda. Srila Prabhupada was so pleased with his record, he cried, he wept on the Vyasa-san, and then he offered praise. Govindari Purisham Tamaham Prajami. One day, a devotee was cleaning Srila Prabhupada's room, and he placed Srila Prabhupada's photo upside down. And Srila Prabhupada was not pleased that you could place God's representative upside down. One morning, Srila Prabhupada was taking Jayananda, and someone put salt in a Jayananda. Srila Prabhupada went to the Vyasa-san, and he said, "Who put salt in the Vyasas, in the Jayananda?" So this girl stood up and said, "It was me." So Srila Prabhupada asked, "Why did you put salt?" She just giggled and said, "I don't know." Srila Prabhupada told Gagamuni, who was the first TP of LA, "Get someone responsible." The ISKCON press, I read this, misprinted Srila Prabhupada's name. They left out His Divine Grace and Swami Prabhupada. It just read A.C. Bhaktivedanta. Srila Prabhupada was not pleased. Another ISKCON press described Srila Prabhupada as the Acharya of ISKCON. Srila Prabhupada is the founder Acharya of ISKCON. When Srila Prabhupada first opened the new Bhagavatam, the binding cracked and the pages fell apart. Srila Prabhupada had a lot to teach his disciples. So in the morning, one morning class, Srila Prabhupada asked Nandarani, "Are you chanting your rounds, all 16 rounds?" And she replied, "I try to." Srila Prabhupada looked at Gagamuni. "You see, this is the problem. If your senior devotees don't chant, how do you expect the others to follow you?" So he said that the most important thing is chanting the 16 rounds. And Srila Prabhupada said that, well, actually, what they didn't tell Srila Prabhupada was that the temple authorities instructed the devotees to do devotional service, which was more important than chanting the 16 rounds. And Srila Prabhupada was not pleased with that. The devotees in India reported that Srila Prabhupada's cooperators objected to his title Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada learned that some of his disciples were saying he was not the only spiritual master. They wanted to read Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's books to learn some more new teaching. Srila Prabhupada regarded this as dangerous for ISKCON. His godbrothers refused to help him secure land in Mayapur, and Srila Prabhupada had to face these threats, and his writing stopped. So once Guru Das wrote from London that he asked Mr. Parikh to sit on the Vyasa-san. So Srila Prabhupada was very, wasn't pleased. He said that the Vyasa-san is used for the Guru Parampara, the disciples, to actually sit, not anyone else. So he said that we should stop this nonsense. Don't get anyone to sit on the Vyasa-san. Chama Krishna wrote to Srila Prabhupada asking about the perfection of spiritual master, and Srila Prabhupada replied, "The spiritual master is always liberated in any condition of his life. He should not be mistaken as ordinary human being." Srila Prabhupada spoke to Gagamuni and Brahmananda about forming a GBC so that they can manage and he can be free to preach. When they had Ratiyatra, Srila Prabhupada was denied to go on the Ratiyatra cart. Can you believe it? So, Srila Prabhupada, once there was devotees, Srila Prabhupada was receiving letters, and there was a devotee who asked Srila Prabhupada, "You didn't reply to my letter." So Srila Prabhupada was outraged that we found out that his letter was being stopped by other temple authorities. He said that nobody can come between the disciple and the spiritual master. Srila Prabhupada requested some of his leading disciples around the world to come immediately to LA, Rupanuga, Tamakrishna, and Bhagavan, and he confided in them about all these different threats that has come to him. And he asked that he be taken far away. Then he established 12 GBCs immediately so that they could manage ISKCON and he can preach. Srila Prabhupada said the most important thing is we should chant 16 rounds first. And he said that he is giving initiations, and for most sannyasis to preach, they should leave and preach, and the duty of the sannyasi is they should make sure that the devotees chant 16 rounds, get up early morning, the temple is clean, and they engage in devotional service. That is the duty of the sannyasi. And that's how the temple will flourish. This is the most important thing to do. Then he established the BBT, and the 3 BBT first appointed members were Bhagavan, Rupanuga, and Kanandara. Srila Prabhupada said that there were so many threats in ISKCON. When Srila Prabhupada was at the airport, his secretary, Devananda Swami, he was filling in the immigration forms, and he read out the question to Srila Prabhupada. And the question is, do you engage in any criminal activities? And Srila Prabhupada said, how can you ask your spiritual master that? And he's turned to Bhagavan. You see, it is so dangerous. I mean, there are so many threats, he can't even trust his own disciples. Okay, I think we're running out of time, so I just need to wrap up quickly. Srila Prabhupada decided to go to India, but he went via Japan. So in Japan, he met the board of directors from Dai Nippon directors. So at the boardroom, he told the directors that he wanted to print some books. The directors agreed, and they left the business cards on the table. So there was a junior director. He was going to escort Srila Prabhupada and his devotees out. So Srila Prabhupada asked this guy who was sitting at the boardroom that what is the goal of life? And he responded, because he couldn't speak English, well, his English was poor. So he took all the business cards and he took his card. He placed the president's card on the top and his card on the bottom. Then he took his card out and he put it on the top. And Srila Prabhupada said, "You want to become president?" And he said, "Yes." And Srila Prabhupada spoke to him about the goal of life for about half an hour. And then they left and they went to India. In India, this was the first time in 3 years Srila Prabhupada went to India. And he was greeted there by his 2 disciples, Achyutananda and Jayananda. They had a grand reception at the VIP lounge in Dum Airport. When Srila Prabhupada arrived, everything became spiritualized. Flowers, incense, garlands, people were putting garlands on him, piles of garlands. He took one pile off, more came, and it just happened all the time. People came, offered obeisances. His American disciples were shocked to see the reception. They haven't seen any reception, anything close like that. Plus the devotees from Gojimat, friends, all came up there. And the kirtan was so big, so loud, and so enjoyable that the devotees were stunned to hear the different rags and the different musical instruments. This young brahmacharis from the Math were playing different tunes, and the young American devotees, we had the mouth open. They were shocked, stunned, never heard madanga playing like that. Never heard kirtan like that. They thought they could sing and dance, but this was just beyond anything else. And Srila Prabhupada was just smiling and looking at all the devotees and saying that this is what you call reception. Then he moved. Srila Prabhupada was driven to Calcutta to Mr. Das' house, Das Gupta. On the way, Srila Prabhupada was driven, and these devotees were shocked to see Calcutta, the lifestyle, the driving, and Srila Prabhupada was smiling, and Tamal Krishna was there, and Srila Prabhupada remarked, Tamal, how is the driving? And Tamal had his mouth open, couldn't answer because the driver is blowing his horn, serving left and right in between people. And it was a big culture shock to everybody, except Achyutananda and Jayapataka, because they were already accustomed staying in India. Okay, I'll just say a few things. They attended many programs. People were shocked to see the Sandton movement move wild into the bazaars and streets of India, of Calcutta and Bombay, and the kirtan was very big. Devotees were shocked to see. I mean, people were shocked to see such nice kirtans, and this kirtan was so big. Srila Prabhupada called these devotees that were dancing white elephants, because people were just so shocked that Americans would sing and dance the Hare Krishna tunes. Srila Prabhupada visited many people, many programs were held, devotees should accompany him, and it was a big culture shock. So when they should take prasadam, people should just follow Srila Prabhupada. What Srila Prabhupada should eat, they eat. And how he should eat, in that line one by one, in that way, they should follow him. When Srila Prabhupada was ready to wash his hand, they washed their hand. So they did everything, walking, talking, eating, everything following Srila Prabhupada, because everything was a big culture shock. So they followed like this right through staying in India. And Srila Prabhupada spread this Hare Krishna movement just by attending programs one after the other, all the way throughout Calcutta and Bombay, traveling different places, meeting different people, and there were more devotees came to join Srila Prabhupada in this. From America, 20 more devotees joined. When they went to programs, they saw sadhus and different spiritual personalities. Some were with ash, some were shaven-headed, some had long beards. But the sadhus, they were shocked to see the devotees and wearing devotees in white clothes. So one shocked the other. They were all shocked. The devotees would go on stage singing and dancing Hare Krishna. And everybody loved the Hare Krishna. I mean, there was one program, devotees went on street chanting and then went on stage. And when they spoke on stage, Srila Prabhupada made his disciples speak. And he only spoke for 5 minutes in Hindi thereafter. I mean, when the devotees sang on stage, there was like 10 minutes of singing, but it took them 15 minutes to sit down and just to hear Srila Prabhupada speak for 5 minutes. This is the kind of reaction that I had, and it was so marvelous. I think I have to stop here because it's gone way past late. So thank you for this, although it's incomplete, but I really have to stop. So thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.